Good evening, everyone. I welcome you all to this session today. Today, we are conducting 8th session of Prajnavaridhi lecture series. We have Vaidya Sushma ma'am. She will be teaching about Ayushkameeya Adhyaya and Shodhanadigana Sangraha Adhyaya today. We'll start the session now. Over to you, ma'am. I'm sorry to disturb, ma'am. Ma'am, mic is off, ma'am.
Hello, audible? Am I audible now? Hello,
Yes, ma'am.
am I audible now?
Audible, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Audible.
can I continue then?
Yes, ma'am. You can continue now.
Okay. So, in the last week, we have completed with the first 12 chapters of Charaka Samhita Sutrasthana. Now, we are going to start with Astanga Hridaya Sutrasthana, first 15 chapters. Both of them are included under the first year paper of Samhita Adhyaya. So, the point here is not about learning whole Samhita in the first year, but it is all about understanding how to learn, how to read Samhita and how to understand the concepts out of it and how to present it in your examination. The point is you cannot get confused between your Astanga Hridaya concepts and the Charaka Samhita concepts. Though both are same, the wordings used are different. And Astanga Hridaya is much more concise compared to Charaka Samhita when you compare. So here what you have to understand is major concepts are same, but the explanations are different. Okay. So the moment you understand this thing, it is easier for you to decipher between the first few chapters of Charaka Samhita Sutrasthana and the few chapters of Astanga Hridaya Sutrasthana. Right? So let us move on to the first chapter of today. Let us Ayushkameeya Adhyaya. Okay, so introduction to the chapter is as the title says, it is Ayushkameeyam Adhyayam. So whoever is desirous of having a long Ayu, for them is this chapter. So whoever wants to learn about Ayu, whoever wants to lead a good life, for them is the whole Samhita actually, because in the initial chapter itself is like the index of the whole chapter. In fact, this Ayushkameeya Adhyaya is itself the index of the whole Astanga Hridaya, right? Because you see all the chapter names, you see all the concepts mentioned here, you see everything. So this is like the index. So if you understand this index, you'll be able to read the other chapters easily. So here in the chapter, the author does not explain any definition about Ayu, but in the Sarvanga Sundari Tika, there is a statement given as Ayurvedayati Jnapayati Prakriti Jnana Rasayana Duta Arishtadi Upadeshadi iti Ayurvedaha. Okay, so the science or the treatise which gives an explanation of Ayu, and it explains about Prakriti, it gives you the knowledge about Rasayana, it gives you the knowledge about Duta and Arishta Lakshanas, etc. is called Ayurveda. This is the commentary by in the Sarvanga Sundari Tika. So this is also one definition that you can write for Ayurveda. Okay, so we'll move to the next one. So he says about Ayurveda Utpatti. So the first 3 chapters, 2.5 shlokas are about Ayurveda Utpatti itself. This Ayurveda Utpatti is one major question that you can get for either 3 marks or 5 marks or 10 marks. So it is Ayuho Kamayam Anena Dharmartha Sukha Sadhanam Ayurvedopadesheshu Vidheyaha Paramadaraha. This shloka is actually explaining you about why is this treatise written, or why is this whole Samhita written. He says, Ayuho Kamayam Anena, who is desirous of Ayu, Dharma Artha Sukha Sadhanam. For that person, this is like a media to attain Dharma, Artha and Sukha. Okay, so Ayurvedopadesheshu Vidheyaha Paramadaraha. The one who wants to understand this has to be a Vidheya, has to be very obedient and has to be very generous of understanding and has to respect others, is what the sloka tries to tell. So before you start reading the whole chapter, reading the whole Samhita, you have to make sure that you check all of these qualities and then start is what he means. So he's trying to give you the indications, or the indications of who can read further and who cannot read further. So if a person does not have desirous, if he is not desirous of having a long ayu, then he cannot read. If he does not want either dharma, artha or sukha, then he cannot read. Then if he is not vidheya, he cannot read. If he is not adara, he is not respectable, then he cannot read. So who has to read? Who should not read is written in the whole shloka itself. Okay, so next we see about Ayurveda Utpatti, that is Brahma Smritva Ayusho Vedam Prajapati Majigrahat. So Ashvinau Tau Sahasraksham. So Atri Putradikan Munin Te Agni Veshadikam Te Tu Prithak Tantrani Tenire. So this is how the whole series goes, the flow chart goes. Brahma remembers Ayurveda. It was already there. It was not found out by anybody. It was not discovered by somebody. It was introduced to the world by Brahma. He just remembered. It was already there. This is not a new discovery, is what the author tries to tell. This is not a new discovery. It has already been there. And that Ayurveda has been remembered by Brahma, and he is trying to explain to us. He is trying to take it forward by sharing it with others, by teaching to others. So he remembers, Brahma remembers Ayurveda, and he explains it, or he teaches it to Prajapati Indra, and then from Prajapati, and from him Ashwini Kumaras learn. From Ashwini Kumaras, the Sahasraksha learns, and then from him all the Atri and other rishis learn. So from Atri, then Agniveshadi, etc. They all learn from Atri Maharshi and Atreya Maharshi, and then they write their individual tantras, is what the whole shloka means. So this Ayurveda Utpatti is very, very important question. And now we come to the question, the answer of why is the name Ashtanga Hridaya. So in the Tika, he says why the name of Ashtanga Hridaya is given as Ashtanga Hridaya. Why is this name? It could be anything else, right? It could be Ashtanga Mastiska also. It could be anything else. But why is it Ashtanga Hridaya only? So he says, the commentator says, Yatha Sharirasya Sarva Avayavebhyaha Pradhana Desho Hi Hridayam Tatha Idam Ashtanga Ayurvedasya Pradhana Bhutatvad Hridayam Iva Hridayam. So the meaning here is, it is a very long one, I understand, but the meaning here is, it is a simple correlation given, simple metaphorical example given. What he tries to say is, like how the important organ in the whole body is hridaya. Similarly, this Ashtanga, in all the Ashtangas of Ayurveda, this Ashtanga Hridaya acts as the heart. It is so important, is what he means to say. It connects with every other parts. It correlates with every other part. So this is important, is what he is trying to say. This is why the name Ashtanga Hridaya is given. So next, explains about the Ashtangas of Ayurveda. It is Kaya, Bala, Graha, Urdhvanga, Shalya, Damshra, Jara, Vrisha. So there are 8 different branches of Ayurveda which is explained. Ashtau Angani Tasyahuhu Chikitsa Yeshu Samshrita. So he says whatever the Chikitsa is explained in all the other treatises, everything is concisely written here. Chikitsa Yeshu Samshrita. So this book contains the Chikitsa of all of these Ashtangas of Ayurveda, which is like Kaya, that is Kaya Chikitsa, Bala is Kaumara Bhritya, Graha is Graha Chikitsa, Udvanga is Shalakya Chikitsa, Shalya is again Shalya Chikitsa, Damshtra is Agada Tantra, Jara is Rasayana Chikitsa, and Vrisha is Vajikarana Chikitsa. So all these are 8 different branches, Ashtangas of Ayurveda, and the Chikitsa which are pertaining to each and every anga of Ayurveda is explained in this whole treatise called Ashtanga Hridaya. This is what is the explanation here. This could also be a small question for like 2 or 3 marks question. Next, see, to tell you in the overall concept, all of the concepts explained in this first chapter can be your 2 or 3 marks question, or sometimes even 5 mark question also, depending on the answer availability. If the answers are pretty much longer, say about Tridosha or say about Chikitsa Chatuspada, all of these have pretty good explanation required when you're writing. So all of these can be your 5 mark question also, but the other small concepts can be a 3 mark question. You cannot neglect any of the shlokas here. You will have to by heart most of the shlokas, because one thing is they'll be useful for you for your exams in your first year. Also, it will be useful for your future classes when you take up this, when you have this Kaya Chikitsa paper 1 and Roga Nidana paper 1. Everywhere you get the same concepts explained. So whenever there is introduction about any subject, that is when you'll get all of these shlokas again and again and again. These all are repeated always in every classes, in every subject mostly. One or the other concept is utilized in one or the other chapters or one or the other subject. So it is always better if you by heart all of these shlokas in proper manner, so that you don't forget it. See, when you go to your next classes, like when you say in your Kriya Sharira, you get the reference of Tridosha of Charaka Samhita, Sushruta Samhita, and Ashtanga Hridaya. Unless and until the question is very specifically about what is the concept explained by Charakacharya regarding Tridosha or any concept of Tridosha, you have the liberty of writing any shlokas as how you are comfortable with. Provided you are writing with the right reference, you can write any of them. So the easiest one to by heart is from Ashtanga Hridaya itself. So if you by heart these questions here, it is also beneficial for you to write it there. Okay, so as much as possible, try to by heart all of these shlokas in the first few chapters. I'll let you know which are the chapters that you'll have to by heart for the whole. This chapter is one of them. You cannot miss any of the shlokas. You cannot miss to forget any of these shlokas. You will have to by heart the whole chapter itself. Okay, so we'll move on to the concept now. It is next concept is about Tridosha, where he says Vayu Pittam Kafasteti Trayo Doshaha Samasataha Vikrita Avikrita Deham Gnanti Te Vartayanti Cha. Okay, so he says there are 3 doshas which are called Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Trayo Doshaha Samasataha. In concised manner, if I have to say, then it is Vata, Pitta, and Kapha as 3 doshas, is what the author says. Then Vikrita, Avikrita. Vikrita is the abnormal condition. Avikrita is the Prakrita. The opposite of Prakrita is Vikrita. So here he says Avikrita, which is not abnormal. That means to be normal. Vikrita, Avikrita. Deham Gnanti. If it is Vikrita, then it will harm the body. If the Tridoshas are an abnormal level, then they harm the body. If they're not abnormal, that is, if they're in normal level, then they support the body and they nourish the body and they support the body, is what the meaning here is. So the next 2 shlokas are about the predominance of every dosha that has been put in the tabular column on the right side here. So you have 4 columns: dosha, vata, pitta, and kapha, and different rows here. Vishesha sthana of vata dosha is hridaya, pitta is nabhi, and kapha is uras. All of these are there in the shloka itself. See, he says, te vyapino api hrit nabhyoho adho madhya urdhva samshrayaha. So he has concised it. This is called sutra. Okay. So this format of explaining vast concept in one single line or in a couple of words in short form is called sutra. So this whole Ayurveda itself is written in sutra form. It is all concised. When you explain it and explain it and explain it, it goes very vast. So that's why this is called sutra. So all the concepts are in the sutra form. You understand? See, when you write the 4 shlokas in the explained form, you get a big tabular column, which is very confusing. But this sutra, when you see it is only like 4 shlokas, you just sit and by heart like for 5 to 6 times. The 7th time you already get it in your mouth. It is very easy for you to by heart them because they have a specific tone, they have a specific combination of words, everything. So this is a sutra form, which is much easier for you to understand. Okay. So he says, te vyapinopi hrinabhyar adho madhya urdhva samshriyaha. That is written here. The Vishesha sthana of vata, pitta, and kapha is hridaya, nabhi, and uras respectively. And it expands the whole location itself, or the whole sthana itself is adhyaya of vata. I mean, the lower part of the body is controlled by vata. The middle part of the body has the pradhanata of pitta, and the upper body has the pradhanata, or majority of it is controlled or taken over by kapha, or the major part of it is occupied by kapha. Okay, so this is how you understand sthana as adhyakaya, madhyakaya, and urdhvakaya of vata, pitta, and kapha is like this. It's not that that is the only dosha present. That cannot work. It is like everything is present, but the predominance is of this particular dosha. Next, we have vaya. In terms of age, then the old age, mid age, and childhood is taken care, or the pradhanata is of vata, pitta, and kapha respectively. In old age, you have pradhanata of vata. In mid age, there is pradhanata of pitta. In childhood, there is pradhanata of kapha. Then again, in the day and night, when you see in the evenings, there is pradhanata of vata. In the afternoon, there is pradhanata of pitta. In the mornings, there is pradhanata of kapha. Similarly, in the night, late night is vata, midnight is pitta, early night is kapha. Bhojana, Agni, Kostha. Bhojana is also the same. Long time after food, like immediately after food, you have kapha pradhanata. After some time of having the food, you have pitta pradhanata, and after long time of having the food, you have vata pradhanata in the body. Okay, so see, basically, if you have to understand, in the beginning it is always kapha, in the middle it is always pitta, in the later part it is always vata, with respect to any of the things that you take. Okay, so next we understand about Agni with respect to tridoshas. So here we have vata dosha. If the Agni has the predominance of vata dosha, or a person with vata dosha will have the Agni of vishama. Vishama means which is irregular. One time, at some point, the person feels too hungry. At some point, he doesn't feel hungry at all, and sometimes he feel okay, normal hunger. That is called vishama. It is irregular. It always has the spikes and lows. Always ups and downs are always there, and that is too much. Okay, and then when you come to the pitta pradhanata, if there is a person of pitta pradhana prakriti, his Agni would be tikshna. That is always hungry. He can digest anything. He eats a lot of food, and he wants to eat a lot of varieties and more quantity, and whatever he eats will get digested faster. So that's called tikshna Agni. And then kapha pradhana person will have the Agni which is manda. That is like very low kind of Agni. He cannot eat too much of food, or he cannot eat too much of heavy foods, and he cannot eat very frequently. He'll need some time to digest the food because the Agni is manda, it is low. So he takes some amount of time to digest the food. So that is called mandagni. So the person who has Vishamagni, Tikshnagni and Mandagni will respectively have Krura Kostha, Mridu Kostha and Madhya Kostha. Before going to these types of Kostha, let us understand what is Kostha. Kostha is how the whole gastrointestinal system works and how the metabolism inside the body works, how the ahara rasa will get absorbed into the body and the malarupa will get expelled out of the body. How this process is taking place inside the body is understood by Kostha. If the person has Krura Kostha, then he has too much of irritations in the body, then and he has there is less sneha in the body, there is less oleation in the body, it is not moisturized from internally. That is called Krura Kostha. Okay, and the person always has to struggle while he passes the motions. It is always hard stools. That is called Krura. That's like his whole internal Kostha uh, Kosthangas are all dry. So they are all trying to take out for the usage of the internal organs. The organs always depend on the food, right? So whatever the moisture content or the liquid content or the oil content is there in the food, these organs try to suck them inside. They want to take it. They want to just uh, completely squeeze whatever the oleant or the liquid part is there from the food. So if that is the behavior of the body, then that is called Krura Kostha, because the body is trying to take out everything. It is lacking. So it is trying to take. That is called Krura Kostha. In Mrudu Kostha, the body or the internal organs or the Kosthangas are completely oleated. It is always soft. Whatever the digestion happens, it is smooth. However, when the person passes the motions, it is soft. So it is called Mridu Kostha. And Kapha person has Madhyama. It is neither too dry nor too Mridu. Neither Krura nor Mridu. It's in moderation. So the Kapha person has moderate Kostha. That is what you have to understand. This is pertaining to the three doshas explained here. This is all that you have to write when the question is asked about Tridosha, either for your 3-mark question or for your 5-mark question. Understand? Next, we'll move on to the next concept, that is Prakriti. So, Prakriti is the person's body constitution or the pradhanata of any particular dosha. So, he says, Shukra artavaha taihi janmadau visheneva vishakrimehe taischa tisraha prakritayo hina madhyotamaha prithak samadhatuhu samastasu shrestha nindya dvidoshajaha. In 3 lines itself, he explains what is Prakriti. He gives a beautiful example of Prakriti. He says the types of Prakriti. He says which is good, which is bad, which is neglected, everything. He says how the combination of Prakriti works also. So this is why I said it is sutra form. Okay, because if I have to explain this, I'll take more like 5 to 7 minutes for it to be explained. But here he says finishes in 3 lines of shlokas. That is the importance of sutra. That is the importance of coding properly. Okay, so he says Shukra Arthahataihi Janmado. During the birth time itself, or during the conception time itself, the gunas of Shukra and Artava, they combine together and they they present the Prakriti of the person is decided at the time of conception. Shukra Artavahataihi Janmadau. During the time of birth itself, during the time of conception itself, before the birth itself, the pradhanata or the Prakriti of the person is decided. How? It is, there is an example here. Visheneva Vishakrimehe. There is, imagine there is a small insect, that is a poisonous insect. Okay, so the poisonous insect, it always shows up its quality of poisoning, right? It does not have any qualities of treating, or it does not have any quality of respecting, or telling, let us not bite you. No, it does not care. It always shows up its poisonous behavior, right? Similarly, The Shukra Artava also, they propagate, or they present the predominant quality, whatever is there in the Shukra and Artava, whatever is dominant, that gets expressed out. Similarly, as how a poisonous insect expresses its poisonous behavior always. And this Prakriti is of three types. Taischa Tisraha Prakritayoho, that is Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. That is called Hina, Madhya, Uttama. Vata Prakriti is called Hina. That's very low quality, or lower grade. Pitta Prakriti is Madhya, and Kapha Prakriti is Uttama. So Taischa Tisraha Prakritayo Hina, Madhya, Uttamaha Pritak. Individually there are three, which are Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Vata being the Hina, Pitta is Madhya, and Kapha is Uttama. And then he says, Samadhatuhu samastasu shrestha nindya dvidosha jaha. If there is samadhatu, if all the three doshas are in its normalcy, then it's called dhatu, because it is supporting the body. So if they're in normal condition, if everything is in its normal level and it's all balanced, then it is shrestha, then it's the perfect kind of combination. And if there is any dvidosha jaha, like if there is any two doshas involved, like vata pitta, pitta kapha, vata kapha, any such kind of combination is called nindya. That is, they are not advised to, they are not actually supported, because they are nindya, they are neglected, or they are not given much of importance, and they are not to be had, is what the author tries to say. Next, he says about Tridosha Guna, because he explained what is three doshas. Now he wants to explain what is the Tridosha Guna. See, here in some cases, in some concepts, you can get the link of why he has explained this, why the next concept is this, and why the next concept is this. But in some places, you cannot understand, because the explanation is given in the Tika. The author has told it, but because we are not aware of it, doesn't mean that it's all written haphazardly. Okay, it all has a link. It all is in, all of these are interconnected. You might feel like, okay, initially he started with Ayurveda Utpatti, then he came to something else, then he explained Tridosha, then he explained Prakriti. What nonsense! Why is he going this haphazard? Why should I remember all of these? Because we do not understand it doesn't mean there is no connection at all. If you want to understand the connection, you can go through, if you are free, you can go through the Tika. Sarvanga Sundari Tika, it is all explained. Why the next concept is this, and why is this explained in this place itself. Everything is given there. You can go through that if you need. If you want to understand the connection between the concepts explained, if you want to link them properly, then you have to go through the commentary. There is beautiful explanation given, like why he explains dosha, and then he explains dhatus, and then he explains everything. So there is always a link. But if you want to understand the link here, you have to go through the Tika. Let us not go that here into deeper concept, because we are just learning now for the exam purpose at this point of time. Now you cannot just go and sit and read the commentary. When you're free, you can go through that. Okay. So next we understand about Tridosha Gunas. He says, Tatra Rukshu Laghuhu Shitaha Karaha Sukshmaschalo Anilaha. So he gives the explanation of the gunas of Vata in the first line, Pitta in the second line, and Kapha in the third line. This you might have understood. You have proper translations of this in your textbooks. You can just go through that too. The Ruksha, Laghu, Shita, Khara, Sukshma, and Chala is the gunas of Vata. Pitta is having Sasneha, like it is with Sneha, it is little Sneha. Tikshna, Ushna, Laghu, Visra, Sara, Drava. These are the qualities of Pitta dosha. And then he explains about Kapha dosha, that is Snigdha, Shita, Guruhu, Manda, Shlakshna, Mritsnaha, Sthiraha, Kaphaha. So he explains about the Kapha dosha gunas. So all the three dosha gunas are explained now. Next he says, when these combinations happen, what happened? Samsarga and Sannipata. He says, Samsarga Sannipatascha Tadvitri Kshayakopataha. So Samsarga is the combination of two doshas, and Sannipata is the combination of three doshas. Okay, so we have understood that Prakriti has combinations. Similarly, Vikriti should also have combinations, right? It cannot be only of Vata dosha, it cannot be only of Pitta dosha, because the Prakriti itself has got variations. If the Prakriti is having Pradhanata of, say, for example, Vata dosha, if the person has got Vata Pradhana dosha, then there is a possibility that his only Pitta dosha has been varied. So that is one kind of roga. That is one kind of disease that can occur. But if there is the combination of two doshas, or there is combination of three doshas also, because it is possible, because this kind of permutation and combination is absolutely possible in the abnormalcy level of three doshas. So we have to understand that. So to tell you about that, he explains about the samsarga and sanipata. He says samsarga is the combination of two, and sanipata is the combination of three. There could be increase or decrease. So he says kshaya could also happen, that it can also decrease in this combination, and the increase can also happen in the same combination. That is, the two doshas of the samsarga or sanipata can happen. So next we move on to Saptadhatu. So he explained about dosha. Next he explains about dhatus and trimalas. Dosha, dhatu, mala. He's trying to cover it off here. So Saptadhatus are seven dhatus. Rasa, asrak, mamsa, meda, asthi, majja, shukrani, dhatavaha, sapta dushyaha. So dhatu, when it is normal, yes, it is called dhatu. And but why is he addressing as dushya? Is because if there is a karana, like karana is the dosha here. Okay, there is something that is dosha, that which can vary, that which can help in getting varied, and whatever is getting varied is called dushya. So this is something that can vary, and whatever is getting varied is called dushya, and these are the saptadhatus. Okay, so the saptadhatu are the seven dhatus explained, and then he explains about the three malas: mala, mutra, shakrat, sveda. Malaha is called. So there are three different types of mala which is expelled out of the body in three varieties. That is mutra, shakrat, and sveda majorly. Okay, so we have covered about tridosha, dhatu, and mala. So when the kshaya and vriddhi happens, what happens is what is the next shloka is all about. He says vriddhi samanaihi sarvesham viparitaihi viparyaha. Okay, so vriddhi happens when the qualities of samana doshas are taken. If there is samanata, then there is vriddhi, and when there is viparyaya, viparita dosha, then there is viparyaya, like the opposite. That means kshaya. So similarity will always cause vriddhi. Dissimilarity will always cause kshaya. This is a headfast rule or the standard rule everywhere. Okay. So next is rasa. This rasa is shadrasa, the taste. This means taste here, rasa. Okay. Rasaha, svadu, amla, lavana, tikta, ushana, kashayakaha. So here there is a difference between the words used by Charaka and Ashtanga Hridaya by Vagbhata. So Charakacharya tells the word as Katu, but here Vagbhata explains it as Ushana. Both are same. You don't have to worry about it. Okay. So he says there are Shadrasas, Rasaha, Swadu, this is Madhura, Amla, Lavana, Tikta, Ushana, and Kashaya, six rasas. Shad Dravyam Ashritaste cha Yatha Purvam Balavahaha. So he says there are six rasas here, and these all take their ashraya. These all go and stay in Dravya. They have to take the support of Dravya to express themselves. So they take the ashraya of any Dravya. And the rasas are Yatha Purvam Balavahaha. So Purvam, like from the front, when you see, they have more bala, and as in when you go to the end, the bala decreases of the taste. I mean, the amount of bala it can produce to the body is what they mean. So Swadu, the Madhura Rasa will give more bala compared to Amla, compared to Lavana, compared to Tikta, compared to Katu, and then Kashaya. So Kashaya Rasa will give very minimal amount of bala. Okay, and it is also not that strong. That meaning could also be understood. And then he says, what are the effects of this rasa in the next sloka? He says, Tatradya Maratam Ghnanti Trayaha Tiktadeha Kafam Kashaya Tikta Madhuraha Pittam Anyetu Kurvate. So he says what are the effects of these rasas on Tridosha. There is a tabular column on the right side when you can see. Vata dosha undergoes Shamana by Madhura Amla Lavana. Pitta Shamana will happen with Tikta, Ushana and Kashaya. Kapha Shamana happens with Kashaya, Tikta and Madhura. So this is what he has explained in the sloka. Then we understand the opposite. He explains all of this, Kashaya, Tikta, Madhuraha until Kashaya, Tikta, Madhuraha, and then he says, Pittam Anyetu Kurvate. Okay, he says the opposites will cause the opposite results. So he says if Madhura Amla Lavana is causing Vata Shamana, then the opposite is Katu Tikta Kashaya, they will cause Vata Prakopa. This is how he says, he gives the explanation. Next, let us move on to the next topic, that is Dravya Bheda. He says, he explains about Rasa, right? Where he says the Rasas take Ashraya in the Dravya. So what is Dravya? Next he explains. Then he says there are two types of Dravya, which causes Shamana and Kopana and Swasthahita. So he says there are three types of Dravya Bheda, three kinds of Dravya, which causes Shamana, that is, it controls, it causes Shamana. There is another type of Dravya which causes Kopana, that is, Prakopa happens. And there is another type of Dravya which just maintains, Swasthahitam. It is for the maintenance and it is for the benefit of the swasthata, to maintain the swasthata of the person. This is beneficial. So he says there are three types of Dravya, that is Shamana, Kopana and Swasthahita. Next, there is an explanation about Virya. He says, Ushna Shita Gunotkarsha Tatra Viryam Vidhasmritam. Virya is loosely translated as potency, and this means how the Dravya actually acts inside the body. Okay, so if the Dravya goes inside the body, and if it produces too much of heat, then if it produces too much of reactions and exothermic reactions, then it is called Ushnavirya, and if it calms down the whole system, then it's called Shitavirya. Okay, and these are in the optimum level in all the Dravyas. The Dravya can be Ushnavirya or it can have Shitavirya. Okay, so these are the two types of Virya explained here in Ashtanga Hridaya. Next, we understand about Vipaka, where he says, Tridha Vipako Dravyasya Swadu Amla Katukatmakaha. So he says, there are three Vipakas, that is Amla Vipaka, Swadu Vipaka, Amla Vipaka and Katu Vipaka. So the rasas, once they enter inside the body, what happens after the digestion? The rasa, what you taste, is in the tongue level. And what happens inside, after going inside, after it starts getting digested, what is the rasa that is produced? Is the vipaka. Okay, so there are three types of rasas produced, that is swadu, amla and katu. The next divisions we'll see it later. Then he explains about guna. Guna is the qualities of any dravya. So there are 20 gunas. He says Guru, Manda, Hima, Snigdha, Shlakshna, Sandra, Mrudhu, Sthiraha, Gunaha sa Sukshma, Vishada. So there are 10 gunas and Vimshati sa Viparyaha. So he explains 10 here, and the 10 other are the opposites of this. Guru, the opposite of Guru is Laghu. The opposite of Manda is Tikshna. The opposite of Hima is Ushna. So he explains one kind and he tells the opposite are also considered, and in total they become 20 gunas, which are expressed in the dravyas. Okay. So the next concept is Roga Karana. So until now he has explained everything about dravya. All of these questions are found in your Padartha Vijnana, are found in your Dravya Guna Vijnana also. Both the conditions, both the subjects, you look into these concepts. So the next concept explained is about Roga Karana, Roga Bheda, Manoroga, Desha, everything, which you see in your Kaya Chikitsa paper and also in your Roga Nidana paper in your future classes. The reason I'm telling is for you to understand the importance of this and by heart the shlokas, because in those subjects when you read, you need not specifically write the shlokas of any particular samhita. Okay, you are free to write any shloka from any samhita, whichever you know and whichever is apt for that particular question asked. So this will help you in that stage. Okay. So the next topic here is Roga Karana. He explains about Kala Artha Karmanam Yoga. Hina Mithya Atimatrakaha Samyak Yogascha Vigneyo Roga Rogeka Karanam. So he says there are three types of Roga Karanas. One is with respect to Kala, one is with respect to Artha, and the other one is with respect to Karma. Okay, Kala, Artha, and Karma. Kala is with respect to time, Artha is with respect to your Indriya Arthas, and Karma is with respect to your activities. Okay, so the further explanations are given in the later chapters again. Here we are not going to study much in detail, but here he'll just mention about the Karanas here. Okay, and then he says, Hina Mithya Atimatrakaha, that is, Hina is low or ayoga, Mithya is Mithya yoga, that is improper utilization or improper things. Atimatra is excessive. Okay, so for example, if I have to say, with let us take the example of karma. Okay, say for example, you have to sit properly, is what is the normal functioning that has to happen. If you are sitting continuously, that is called atimatra, ati yoga. Okay, if you are sitting very less time, if you're not sitting at all, then that is called hina yoga. And if you are sitting in abnormal positions, then that is mithya yoga. Okay, I hope you have understood the example. Same thing you consider for any activities that is that is hina, mithya, and atimatra with respect to karma. Say for example, you have to talk. If you have to talk, that is normal. Wherever you have to speak, whenever you have to speak, how much ever you have to speak, what you have to speak. You understand all of those and do the normal talking. Right? If you do not speak at all, then it becomes hina yoga. If you talk too much, it becomes ati yoga. If you talk irrelevant, unnecessary, however you want, or harsh, or lies, or anything which just doesn't feel good, that is called mithya. Okay. However, it should not be done is called mithya. Okay. So this is how you have to understand about kala, artha, and karma. We'll have the further explanations in the later chapters. And then he says, Samyak Yogasya Vigneyo Roga Arogeka Karanam. If you are doing it normal, then it produces aroga. And if you are doing it in Hina, Mithya, and Atimatra, then it causes Roga. Okay, understood. Next, what is Roga and what is Aroga? He gives an explanation here. He says, Rogastu Dosha Vaishamyam, Dosha Samyam Arogata. Says if there is any Vaishamya, if there is any abnormality, any changes in the doshas of the body, then it is Roga. If there is normalcy, if there is all the doshas are in their normal level, if they are in their Prakrita Avastha, then it is Aroga. There is no disease in the body. Next he says, what are the Roga Bheda? Now that he has explained Roga Karanas, now that he has explained what is Roga, now he is trying to explain to you what is the Roga Bheda and Adhisthana. That means what are the types of Roga and where does it see? Where do you, where is the expression of the diseases seen? Okay. He says Roga Bheda is of two types, Nija, Agantu. Nija is the diseases which are produced from inside the body, and Agantu is the diseases which are acquired from with the involvement of external forces. Okay, so these are the two types of Roga. And then he says, what are the Adhisthana? Adhisthana is where the disease can get expressed. That is, Tesham Kaya Mano Bhedat Adhisthana Mapidvida. So even the expressions or the Adhisthana or the location of Rogas are also of two types. That is Kaya and Mano. So that is the physical diseases and the psychological or mental diseases. So these are the two places where the Roga can occur. So when you look into any Vyadhi, you either consider them as the Rogas which are come into the Kaya or the physical body, or the Vyadhis that have developed inside the Manas or the psychological disorders. Okay, there are no other rogas which can come to any other place. So this is all it is. You take any roga and categorize between Kaya and Manas, it comes only between Kaya and Manas. There is no other category. Okay, and so until now he's explained about the rogas which can come into the body. Now he explains about manorogas. Manorogas are Rajas Tamas Marasau Dvau Dosha Udahritau. So he says Mano Dosha. Sorry, this is Mano Dosha, not Mano Roga. Mano Dosha. So until now he explained about the three doshas, which are Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, which are the Sharirika doshas. Now he is explaining Manasika Rogas, that is Manasika doshas, Rajas and Tamas. Sattva is not Mano Dosha. It is the Prakritavastha of Manas. The Mano doshas or whatever can cause disease is called dosha, right? So if there is any disease that has to happen, then it is because of the doshas. And when the discussion is about manas, when the thing is about manas, the roga is about manas, then the causative factors are only two, that is rajo dosha and tamo dosha. Okay, so rajas and tamas are the only things that could cause any manasika rogas. Then he explains rogi and roga pariksha, how you have to examine this, how you have to understand the rogas, how you have to understand nija and agantu rogas, how you have to understand roga and aroga, how you have to understand the diseases which are affecting the physical body and the mental body. He explains how you have to examine the patient, how you have to examine the disease. So there are two different examinations required. If you are examining the rogi, then it is about the patient. You are examining the physical and mental status of the body. And if you are when you are examining about the condition what they have, then that is called roga pariksha. How you do rogi pariksha is darshana, sparshana, prashnehi, pariksheta cha roginam. You can touch the patient, you can look at the patient, and you can ask the questions to the patient and then examine him. You can take any concept, any vyadhi, you examine like this itself. You examine the rogi first and then the roga and then treat them accordingly. So rogi pariksha happens with three tools, that is darshana, sparshana and prashna. Very, very important. And then roga pariksha, how you examine the disease is by nidana, pragrupa, lakshana, upashaya. Sorry, nidana, prag, rupa, lakshana, upashaya. So there are five nidana panchakas. That is, nidana is the causative factors, prag is the purva rupa here, and then he says rupa, that is prag rupa, lakshana, upashaya, four. Nidana, prag rupa, lakshana, and upashaya. So there are four examining tools for roga pariksha, which are you understand about the causative factors, and then you understand about the prodromal symptoms or the primitive symptoms that occur in the condition, in the disease, and then you understand what are the symptoms that the person is expressing, and then you understand what is the prognosis, like with what does the condition lessen, or with what the symptoms less, and with what treatments does the condition aggravates. This is called upashaya. The prognosis of the condition is called upashaya. So you understand the rogi and roga. Okay. So once you understand this, how you try to treat them is the next part. Okay. So next once you examine the rogi and roga, your treatment will begin. And when your treatment begins, you have to understand about Desha. So Desha is Bhumi Deha Prabedhena Desham Ahuriha Dvidha. So there are two Deshas. Like Desha is not any country or anything. It is not translated like that. Desha is locality or the place where you stay. Okay. So there are two types of Desha, that is Bhumi Desha and Deha Desha. Bhumi Desha is all about the Prakritis that we have understood earlier. Now we are going to understood Deha Desha we have understood all about Prakriti. Now we understand about Bhumi Desha. Like in Deha Desha, we understood all about Prakriti, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, what are the places and how the three doshas affect in the routines of the daily activities, after food, at sleep, in the daytime, in the age, everything we have understood. So, with respect to that, also your treatment matters. Your treatment has to rely upon. And with respect to the Bhumi Desha or the climatic condition or the weather condition or the locality or the place where the person is living or the place where the diseases has got originated. This is called Bhumi Desha. Okay. So this Bhumi Desha is of three types. That is Jangala, Jangalam Vatabhuishtam, Anupam tu Kaforbanam, Sadharanam Samamalam Tridha Bhudesham Adishit. So he says there are three types of deshas. That is one is Jangala, next is Anupa, and then it is Sadharana. Okay. So Jangala Desha, it is very dry. It has the pradhanata of Vata. So whatever the Vata qualities you see as in the explanation, Tatra Ruksho Laghu Shita, all these qualities you can see in the environment itself. In the environment means in the plants, in the animals, in the people who stay there, in the crops, everything. That is all having the pradhanata of Vata dosha itself. So this Jangala Desha is Vata pradhanata. And then Anupadesha is Kapha pradhana. Okay. Anupadesha is something which is like marshy places. Okay. Or say the coastal areas or the marshy places. Those are called Anupadesha. And then comes to Sadharana Desha, that is the normal. It is not neither too dry, nor it is too marshy, nor it is too rainy, neither it is too sunny. Everything is just normal. Everything is in its moderate level. It is neither too sunny, nor it is too rainy also, nor it is too chilly, nor it is too hot. Nothing is on the extreme level. In the Jangala Desha, there is extreme level of the temperature. In the highest temperature, or it is too dry. Everything is in excess. The Vata Pradhanata or the qualities of Vata is in excess. It is in extremes. In Anupadesha, there is extreme levels of Kapha dosha, or whatever the gunas of Kapha is there, you see that in the place there. So that has the extreme levels of this Kapha dosha. But the Sadharana Desha has normal, moderate levels of expression of such kind of characteristics. So that is called Sadharana Desha. These are the three types of Desha that you have to understand before treating any patient. Okay, next we understand about Manorogas. He says, Kshanadihi Vyadhi Avasthacha Kalo Bheshaja Yogakrit Shodhanam Samanam Chiti Samasad Aushadham Dvidha. Okay, so here he says how the treatment has to be planned. The heading is wrong. It is not Manoroga. The heading is not Manoroga. He explains how the treatment has to be planned. Kshanadihi Vyadhi Avasthacha. So you have to understand that two avasthas before treating any patient. Kalo Bhesaja Yogakrit. If you have to treat any patient, if you have to start using any Bhesaja yogas, then you have to understand two kalas. Kshanadi Avastha and Vyadhi Avastha. Okay. Kshanadi Avastha means what? It means you have to understand about the rutus, you have to understand the day and time, you have to understand the influence of day and time, influence of rutus, influence of food, everything. So that is called Kshanadi Avastha. And you also have to understand when the treatment has to be planned. Either that is understanding when the treatment has to be planned is under Vyadhi Avastha. So you have to understand if there is a person with fever. Okay, you have to understand if the fever is long lasting, or it has just begun, or it is still in the prodromal symptom stage, or he has gone through the fever and now has come later after fever has gone down. Okay, if that is the condition, you have to understand different stages. The Vyadhi Avastha, if the fever is in the prodromal symptoms, or high fever, or like moderate fever, or during the treatment of upashay, or during the time when the fever is getting reduced, if that is the stage. Understanding these stages is very important to plan up the bheshajat or to plan up the treatments. Okay, so you have to understand two. You have to understand the rutu also, the kshanadi, etc. avasthas, that is a day, night, weeks, the rutus, the samvatsaras, everything. If you understand that, then the treatment is also easy. Also, you have to understand the vyadhi avastha. So there are two types of avastha that you have to understand before you would start treating any patient. Next, we come to the concept of aushadhas. What is aushadha and how it is going to be used? He says there are different types of aushadhas, that is two. That one is Shodhana and the other one is Shamana. Shodhanam Shamanam cha iti samasad aushadham dvidha. In concised manner, to categorize whole of the doshas, then it is only two. It is either Shodhana or Shamana. So Shodhana is where the doshas are expelled out of the body, and Shamana is where internally itself the doshas get reduced on its own once you start giving them aushadhas. So these are the two types of aushadhas that you can prescribe to a patient, whoever comes to you for treatment. Then how is the aushadha planned? Sharirajanam doshanam kramena paramaushadham vastir viroka vamanam tatha tailam ghritam madhu. Okay, so all these Shariraja dosha treatments, how the Shariraja doshas treatment happen is Shariraja doshas are Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, and these, if they are in Vyadhi avastha, or if these have to be treated properly, then the optimum level or the perfect things for Vata dosha is Basti, for Pitta dosha it is Virechana, and for Kapha dosha it is Vamana, and the aushadhas which are perfect for each of them are, for Basti it is Taila, for Virechana it is Ghrita, and Vamana it is Madhu. Okay, so Vata, Pitta, Kapha, Basti, Virechana, Vamana, Taila, Ghrita, Madhu, all of these are in order. Okay, so this is how you treat the Sharirika dosha, Sharirika Vyadhis. And then for the Manasika doshas, you have different approach. That is called Dhi, Dhairya, Atmadi Vijnanam, Mano Dosha Ushadham Param. He says Dhi, Dhairya, Atmadi Vijnanam. That is, you have to understand the Dhi, you have to use your mental faculties, you have to treat the mental faculties also. You need to imbibe some dhairya or confidence to the patient, and then you have to understand other involving characters which could have caused the manodosha. Atmadi Vijnanam is also required. This is how you treat a psychological disease. And earlier we have seen about Vasti, Virechana, and Vamana, Taila, Ghrita, Madhu usage in Sharirika doshas. This is how he explains about the aushadhas. Then he says Chikitsa Chatuspada. So now we have Bheshaja, now we have a hint of how treatment has to be planned. But who will do? What are the necessity? What are the required things for a treatment to happen is what is called the Chikitsa Chatuspada. He says, Bhishak Dravyani Upasthata Rogi Pada Chatushtayam Chikitsitasya Nirdishtam Pratyekam Tat Chaturgunam. So this is the same explanation given in Charaka Samhita also. Same words, mostly same words. And you just by heart all of these questions, same Chikitsa Chatuspada explanation itself, nothing changes. He again says four parts of the Chikitsa. So you consider Chikitsa as one whole thing. And if you divide that into 4 quarters, the first quarter is Bhishak, second is Rogi, third is Dravya. Sorry, first is Bhishak, next is Dravya, third is Upasthata, and the fourth is Rogi. Okay, so these are the 4 Chatushpada. These are the 4 padas or the 4 quarters which are required to make the whole, the complete Chikitsa. So he says the 4 qualities of Bhishak are Dakshaha, Tirthata, Shastrartho, Drishta Karma, Shuchi. So he has to be Daksha, he has to be confident, he has to be wise enough, he has to have the knowledge of all the Shastras, he has to be having all practical knowledge, that is Drishta Karma, he should have seen the treatments happening, he should have seen the activities happening, everything. And then he has to be hygienic, that is, he has to be Shuchi. 4 qualities of Vaidya. And then we see the qualities of Aushadha, that is Bahukalpam, Bahugunam, Sampannam, Yogyam. Okay, Bahukalpa is you should be able to formulate it in different preparations. It should have multiple qualities. It has to be, that is Bahugunam. It has to be with optimum qualities, and it should be having everything in it. It should be, it should not lack in anything. That is called Sampanna, and it should have the quality of treating the Vyadhi also. That is called Sampanna, and it should be perfect for that specific disease. That is called Yogya. So, 4 qualities of Aushadha. Next is about the Paricharaka. Anuraktaha, Shuchihi, Daksho, Buddhiman, Paricharaka. Anuraktaha is the Paricharaka, or the attendant, or the helper who is trying to help the Vaidya and the Rogi, the mid person who connects with the Vaidya and the Rogi. He has to have Anurakta, that is, he has to have sympathy. And then he should be Shuchi, he has to be hygienic. He has to be Daksha, that is, he should have his own wittiness. And then Buddhiman is he should have proper knowledge, and he should know what to do and what he should not do. That is called Buddhi. Okay. So these are the 4 qualities of the Paricharaka. And then we have the qualities of Rogi also, which says Adhyorogi, Bhishagvashyo, Gyapakaha, Satvavanapi. Adhyorogi is the person should have more money, or he should have proper resources. That is called Adhyorogi. And then Bhishagvashyo is he should follow whatever the Bhishak says. He should be under the control of Bhishak. He should surrender to the Bhishak. That is called Bhishagvashya. And then Nyapakaha is he has to remember whatever has happened to him in the previous life, or in the previous, or in his earlier life, or before coming to the doctor, before he enters the, or before he gets himself to the place of the bishop, he has to remember whatever has happened to him with respect to his physical condition or the vyadhi, whatever he is suffering, and then he should be able to tell it to the bishop. That is called Jnapakaha. And then he should have the sattva. If there is no sattva, you cannot treat the patient. He should be confident enough. He should have the positive attitude towards getting treated. That is called sattva. So he should have the sattva also. He has all of these. There is a bhishak, there is medicine, there is the paricharaka, there is rogi also. And then now we understand how the chikitsa has to happen and what is the sadhya sadhyata of the vyadhi. Not all diseases are treated, not everything can be treated, and something can get treated on its own. Everything happens, right? That is called the sadhya sadhyata. Why does some diseases get treated easily? Why some does not get treated easily? Here is the answer. He says, sadhyo asadhya iti vyadhihi dvidha tau tu punardvida. So basically there are 2 kinds of vyadhi. One is sadhya and one is asadhya. That is, one is treatable and the other one is untreatable. And these 2 has again 2 different classifications. Susadhya, Kritra sadhyascha. So the sadhya vyadhi is again divided into 2. Susadhya and Kritra sadhya. And asadhya vyadhi is divided into yapya and anupakrama. So easily treatable diseases, or the treatable diseases are easily treatable and with a little bit of difficulty, but treatable. Okay. And untreatable are like you cannot treat, but you have to just manage. And the other one is untreatable completely. So then he explains about the qualities of everything: sadhya, asadhya, sukha sadhya, kritra sadhya, yapya, and anupakrama, from shloka number 32, shloka number 33, 4 slokas for each of them. You can go through that. And then he says, who are anupakrama rogis? So we understood about the roga, right? Sadhya sadhyata of the roga is what we understood until now. Of the vyadhi or of the disease, whoever has got or whatever the disease has been manifested, we have understood about the roga. Now we are going to understand about the rogi. So we understood, right? Roga and rogi parisha, they're different. A disease can be strong, but the patient can be very weak. A disease can be very weak, but the patient can be very strong. So these are the combinations. So now we understand who are the rogis who should not be treated. Okay, very, very important. Tyajedartam bhishak bhupaihi dvishtam tesham dvisham dvisham hinopakaranam vyagram avidheyam gatayusham chandam shokaturam bhirum kritaghnam vaidya amaninam. So there are different characteristics of every person who should not be treated at all. Tyajed artham. So whoever is in grief or these kinds of patients should not be treated. Bhishak, okay, the bishop has to let go of such people. Who are those? Bhupaihi dvishtam. Okay, one who is hated by the king. Tesam dvisham. Dvisham is one who hates the king and one who is hated by the king mutually, or either one side also, one who hates the king or one who is hated by the king, or mutual. These combinations people should not be treated by any vaidya. And then any person who is having hina upakarana, like if the person is not able to source the aushadhas and the upakaranas properly, those patients you cannot treat. Those rogis they are not supposed to treat. Next, vyagram is whoever is having too much of anger. So vyagra, those people you should not treat. Avidheya is who is not obedient. Gatayusham, like whoever has been expressing the Arishta Lakshanas, whose Ayu has already been completed. Even for those patients, you cannot keep trying to increase their Ayu, or you cannot try to keep on treating them. That is of no use. And then Chandam, whoever is very aggressive or whoever is very adamant in their behavior. Those people are called Chanda. Such people should not be treated. Shokaturam, whoever is in too much of grief. Bhirum, whoever is scared too much. Kritaghnam, who is not grateful. And Vaidya Amaninam, who does not follow whatever the Vaidya says. All of these patients should not be treated. The Vagbhatacharya, he considers all of these people as Anupakrama Rogi. These people should not be treated at all. This is the end of the concepts explained in the first chapter. In the last part of the chapter, he explains about whatever the adhyayas are there in the whole of Astanga Hridaya, and he mentions every single name of the adhyaya in all the sthanas, in all the 6 sthanas, totaling to 120 adhyayas. Okay, so in every sthana there are different number of adhyayas explained, and then the total comes to 120. The list is in the last part of the first chapter. This is all about the first chapter of Astanga Hridaya Sutrasthana. Next, we enter into the 15th chapter of Astanga Hridaya Sutrasthana, that is Shodhanadigana Sangraha. This chapter is very important for your practice. Whenever you start practicing, whenever you start understanding the aushadhis, about the different aushadhi names, and about the different combinations seen now, about different patented Ayurvedic medicines or your own combination of medicines, whatever it is, when you want to understand about the medicine part, this chapter is very, 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 very important. But otherwise, for your exam point of view, until now, in any question paper, we have not seen any questions from this particular chapter or 15th chapter. Maybe once or twice, but you'll have options to write. So this chapter does not contain any marks in your. No marks is majorly allotted for this particular chapter, but desirable to know. It comes under desirable to know kind of concept in the syllabus. Okay, so that is why I have not given too much of things here. It is not. It does not fetch you too much of marks from this chapter. So you need not have to bang your head and by heart all of the ganas and all of the dravyas. How many dravyas? No, it is not required for you to mug up all of those things, because they are not asked in your questions in your exams. If required, once you finish your exams, you can go through them. It is very, very, very important for you to understand this and learn this. But exam point of view, not of much importance. So this is all about the concise explanation of this 15th chapter. So there are three categories explained. One is the Shodhanagana, and the second one is the Dosha Shamanagana, and the third one is all the other ganas which are explained. In Shodhanagana, he says about four ganas. There are four ganas explained. In Shodhanagana, he explains whatever the Aushadha Dravyas are used for Shodhana purpose. Okay, so Vamana, Virechana, Niroha Basti, and Nasya. All of these are called Shodhana. So the Dravyas used in these procedures are explained in every of the ganas here. So Chardana Gana, Virechana Gana, Niroha Basti Gana, and Shiro Virechana Gana. So there are four. And then he explains about the Dosha Samana Gana, like Vatahara, Pittahara, and Kapahara. Every Gana has Vatahara Gana has the Dravyas which are utilized for Vata Shamana. Pittahara has the same, and Kapahara has the Dravyas which cause Kapha Shamana. Okay, hope you have understood these two. And the other part, and the later part, is all about the other ganas, which cannot be categorized basically, but they have their own names. So there are medicines which are prepared based on these ganas, and they are in the market that you can also understand. And these are also utilized. These are also seen as individual yogas when the disease explanation starts in Chikitsa Sthana in different samhitas. These ganas are mentioned. So he says Jivaniya Gana Kashaya in some condition, in any specific condition, as and when it is required. Aragvadhadi Gana Kashaya or Asanadi Gana Kashaya, etc. So such kind of medicine formulation and Chikitsa part, it is explained. But otherwise, for your exam point of view, these are really not asked at any point of time. So you can just remember whatever are there. Just grossly you can understand what are the dravyas, because if only they are asked, you should be able to write at least for 2 mark question, right? So it is preferable for you to know at least like 3 or 4 dravyas of each gana and understand that possibly whenever, I mean by heart it possibly. Okay, so this is all about today's session of first chapter and 15th chapter of Astanga Hridaya Sutrasthana, that is Ayushkameeya Adhyaya and Shodhanadigana Sangrahaniya Adhyaya. So I hope you have understood this. For tomorrow's session, we'll meet again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the session. We'll wind up the session now, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.